Hello, everyone. Good to see there's more and more people. I expect there might be some more creeping in the back in a moment. Welcome. So, Mr. Grim Swinnen's come all the way from Belgium to talk to us regarding serious tandem accidents, what's been happening in Belgium, as well as a recent fatality, sadly, that happened. So he's going to be, that's going to be the next presentation. So, without further ado, Mr. Grim.
So I don't need this. Hello, welcome everybody. So a few weeks back, I was talking to my president, my colleague in the board of the Flemish Federation, and I was asking him, like, do you mind if I go to the BPA, to the BS, to the Expo? No, that's fine. And yeah, so if you go, please, can you do a presentation for me? Okay. So I'm doing this on behalf of him because he was not able to come over here. So we're going to talk about two serious accidents. One is a bad landing with a twist 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago. Luckily, it didn't end up in a fatal accident. And the second one, unfortunately, last year, half a year ago, we had the first fatal accident in Belgium after, tandem got invented in the 80s. So 40 years of doing tandems, and unfortunately, we got to the first fatality. A little bit about myself, a very short biography. I'm 25 years in the sport. I have over 10,000 jumps now. I'm an AFF instructor. I have since 15 years a four-way video flyer for Team Thunder first, and then now the last 6-7 years for Team Fireflash. After all, I'm a fun jumper. I like to jump. I like to be in every load possible at the drop zone. I'm also a Flight 1 instructor teaching canopy flight. I'm full-time in the sport, but I'm not a full-time skydiver, and that's what I like. I'm a full-time rigger, so that's what I make my living of. And then I'm a board member of the federation, and then there is a little side project. I'm also the president of Skydive Flanders, the biggest skydiving organization in Belgium, let's say. So you see I have a lot of different hats on the drop zone. There's just one ticket or one license that I don't have. I'm not a tandem instructor myself. So it's maybe a little bit weird to teach this or to give this seminar, this presentation here. If there are some questions about tandem, or if I'm talking some bullshit, just let me know. I'm sure we can help out each other for sure. The skydiving history of Skydiving Flanders, our drop zone. So yeah, we are affiliated to the Flemish Skydiving Federation. Belgium is divided in two parts. You have the north part, the Flemish Skydiving Federation, the south part, the French Skydiving Federation. And then actually we have like the Belgian Parachuting Federation, but it's like an empty box because we have the two, the north and the south. We work not really together, but we talk with each other, of course. We are friends, but we have two like separate organizations. Skydive Flanders, our drop zones are spread over, like what the word said itself, Flanders. 3 places, 3 locations in the north part of Belgium, Moorsele, Schaffen, and Zwartberg. Maybe some of you guys still know the Flanders Boogie from back in the days. Flanders Boogie Power. That's almost 5 years ago. So that's where we're all well known from. Each drop zone flies or operates the super van, C208, and then we will talk about jump numbers in a bit. And also we have like a smaller drop zone, colleagues, friends of us, Skydive Antwerp. They last year they didn't operate because they had some plane issues. We will hopefully we see them back in the air in the future. But that's basically what Skydive Flanders is. Maybe important for you guys to know, we are all weekend warriors. We just skydive during the weekend. There is actually no one, I'm pretty sure no one of our skydivers is making a living out of it, doing like full-time tandems or AFF or all kind of this different kind of skydives. So it's all weekend warriors and fun jumpers. So the progress to become an instructor in Belgium, that's also maybe interesting to know for you guys. And I don't know if there's probably some similarities. Let me know if it's not. But you need to be 3 years in the sport to become an instructor in Belgium. You need to have at least a minimum of 500 jumps. In my opinion, is maybe not enough, but that's a different discussion. Then you need to do some theory and exams, obviously. There's an apprenticeship of, let's say, more or less 1 season, and then you start the dedicated course to become an EFF instructor or a tandem instructor. How different is that to the UK?
Very different.
Very different?
No, very. To be an AFF instructor, you have 1,000 jumps, and tandem 800, right? Yeah, tandem
Okay.
800 jumps, and so many hours in free fall.
Yeah, we're working towards that as well. For now, if I'm not mistaken, because we changed the few times over the years. Actually, I forgot to put it here on the presentation. You need to have at least also 750 jumps before you can become an EFF or tandem instructor. But you can start the process from 500 jumps on. The requirements to keep your license, of course, also important, because back in the days, the good old days, you got the license, let's say, for life. That was not a good idea either. So you need to do 25 jumps annually, non-instructional jumps, fun jumps, just to keep some affiliation with the sport, of course. Then you also need to do, of course, like in your discipline, 25 tandem jumps or 25 EFF jumps. And then on top of that, you need to have like the yearly approval by the commission. The commission comes together like 1 time a year, and then they talk about all instructors, and they give you the approval or not. If you get to the 25 jumps in both your non-instructional jumps and your discipline, then there is no reason to not give you the license, and then you just continue doing your job. To me, also, not the discussion here, it's not a lot of jumps that you need to do annually, and it maybe does not have something to do with the 2 accidents that we're going to talk about, but it's just for you guys to know. What is it here in the UK? Similar? Okay. A little bit of stats just to know for you guys, like how many jumps we more or less do, like how big or how small we are. So the blue bar is the combined, the north part of Belgium and the south part of Belgium. The orange bar is us, the Flemish Federation, and then the gray bar, that's the French, the south of Belgium. So you see, like it's until 2023. I didn't have the numbers for 2024 yet. So you see, like in Belgium, we sorry, talking about the number of skydivers, the number of heads skydiving in Belgium. We are like around 700 in Flanders, and then in Belgium, close to 1,200. We had that little Corona gap, like probably for you guys the same. So we're steadily growing, but still around the 1,200 skydivers in Belgium. Let's say 11 million people. I don't know what it is in the UK, but probably it's pretty similar. The jumps that we do at Skydive Flanders annually, we had a very, very good Flanders boogie in 2018. We had super weather. We did 12,000 jumps in 1 week. And then you see we had also a good Flanders boogie in 2019, of course, Corona. The last couple of years, we are slowly working again towards the 40,000 jumps. Actually, we want to get to the 50,000 jumps again one day. It's not on the slide, but last year we had close to 40, like more or less the same like 2023. Amount of tandem jumps that we do at Skydive Flanders. Of course, before Corona, we had some steady numbers, good weather in 2018. And then the last years, 2022, 2023. Although you saw the previous slide that we did not do that many jumps as we did the years before, we have like a very, we have like a good, we did a decent amount of tandem jumps. We did some more marketing about it. Of course, we need the tandem jumps, of course, to keep the prices low. So we're doing more tandems than we did back in the days, close to 2,500. I mean, we're working towards 2,500. Although, it's again not on the screen. 2024, we did a little bit less, like 2,200 or something. That is kind of an introduction. Then let's go into the first landing accident. So the 12th of June 2022, we had a serious accident, of course. We had a bad landing with a twist. In summary, the tandem instructor just landed with a twist without cutting away the main canopy, without doing the proper emergency procedures, resulting in some broken bones, of course. The tandem instructor was a 50-year-old male person, around 1,500 jumps, 70 kilos, and maybe we're not going to go too deep into it, but he had a difficult path to become a tandem instructor. It took him some time to get the instructor ticket, and then after that to become the tandem instructor itself. The tandem passenger, 20-year-old male, doing his first tandem, general in good condition, 70 kilos. So a normal tandem configuration, not super heavy. The landing incident itself, this may be also interesting for you guys to explain. We had Skydive Flanders since 2016, I guess, 2016 or 2017. We are jumping all Icarus 364 mains. Sigmas since years already, but back in the days, or before we started jumping the Icarus canopies, we flew the A2s, the Aerodynes, and we wanted to change because there was some issues with the Aerodyne canopies. The instructors didn't like them anymore, and then we ended up with the Icarus 364. So no smaller canopies, all 364 for all kind of tandem skydivers. So the heavy ones, the lighter ones, all 364s. It was a standard, a nice, beautiful skydiving day. 7 knots of wind, little bit clouds, few clouds at 4,000 feet. Uneventful exit and a free fall. Normal drop release, approximately 5,000 feet. That's pretty normal. Canopy opens with a line twist. That, of course, that happens every now and then, unfortunately. The tandem instructor tries to clear the line twist, but he didn't succeed. He was always like going like half away, like a half twist out, and then he always swung back. And at 3,000 feet, the tandem instructor stops, and that's the difficult part in this landing accident. He decided at 3,000 feet, like, they taught me, like he got his license like maybe half a year before, or the same season. They taught me like 3,000 feet is decision altitude. I'm now at, let's say, 2,990. I can't get away anymore. So he decided there, like, okay, I need to land with the line twists. He had a hard landing. They were flying backwards, so there is no video of the incident. But they were further up at the drop zone. Like a little bit further on, but they obviously all the witnesses, they could see them like bouncing upwards, so like definitely a very hard landing. Tandem instructor got a broken pelvis, broken femur, broken foot, complex fractures, and he kept it even in an artificial coma for a week. The passenger was luckily, lightly injured, slight headache, bleeding tongue, pain in the lower back and neck. The investigation, obviously we sent the vigil back to the factory. It was like an uneventful free fall, nothing special, nothing abnormal. The twist was, of course, slowing down the opening. Then the tandem instructor was able to untwist only half turns, what I just explained in the previous slide. Then the investigation of the riggers, the master rigger, they found a twist below the slider upon investigation, nothing special there either. Another tandem instructor, they found the drag entangled in the left steering line cascade, probably not contributing to the accident because this is a decision thing. What maybe has contributed is that the tandem instructor was also calming the passenger, talking to the passenger, not very experienced as a tandem master either, so a lot of brain work to do at that point. And then, as we already explained, 2,000 feet, he decided to land in the configuration as he thought it was too low to cut away the main parachute. Probable causes. pegging error, line twists, but line twists, they happen, of course. So we know what we need to do when we have line twists to get away from them, to clear the line twist either, or to make the decision to cut away, of course, at the proper altitude. Maybe loss of altitude awareness by calming the passenger, as we just explained already. Maybe yes, maybe no. Judgment error, the same as what you already explained. So although he was at the right altitude, I mean, he had more than enough altitude to do so, he didn't cut away. As I told you guys in the beginning, I'm not a tandem instructor myself. The 3,000 feet hard tech, that seems correct to me. How low can you go with a tandem cutaway if your life depends on it, if you have a problem below 3,000 feet? I'm not going to give you the answer. It's something for you guys, I mean, at least the tandem instructors here to think about. Mental pressure, we talked about that already. He had a bumpy road to become an instructor. It's maybe hard to go like too much into details, but even a few months before, from the drop zone where he was jumping regularly, the Federation got a letter with some information like, hey, we like this guy, he's a very nice guy, we like to jump with them. There's no safety issues jumping with them in a normal skydive, but we have some thoughts about his like a trajectory to become an instructor. So maybe that's something that you guys need to just think about it, or talk with that guy, or all these kind of things. And actually, nothing happened with that letter. Everything just went on like in the normal process. So that was that was the first thing to become an instructor. And also once he got the instructor ticket, he to become the tandem instructor himself. He also got some difficulties. He needed to do some jumps a few times because it's normally, I think, it's pretty much the same here in the UK. But in Belgium, I think it's UPT process is like 5 examination jumps and then 5 jumps with a D license holder to get your instructor license. So 10 tandem jumps, but you need to do a few jumps more than the average. And also an interesting factor, or probably a contributing factor, is that during one of his there was his 15 tandem jump. That was one of the jumps that it was still, I think his last or his second last jump with the D license holder before he got the instructor ticket. He did a cutaway with another experienced skydiver, also a tandem master on top of it, in front of him. He had line twists. Apparently, it was like very light line twists, and they, as far as we understood, it was like just like one twist or like half a twist, and he immediately started to do the emergency procedures, and he cut it away. And they had a talk with him afterwards, like, hey, you cut away too soon, and blah, blah, blah. So that's probably also a contributing factor, like, hey, they told me not to cut away too soon, and then all the other things, and calming the passenger, and then he reached 2,000 feet, and oh, no, I can't cut away anymore. The mental thing, the continuous doubts about his ability to become a tandem instructor, without ever substantiating the reasons for these doubts, because he was a good guy, a fun skydiver. So we talked about that before. Lessons learned: whenever in doubt, say no to the instructor process. That's also a hard thing, I think, to talk about and just to act, because we all, it's a very small world, skydiving world, we all know each other. If then you need to, as like in the examination committee, usually all the guys doing the instructor course, or I mean, not usually, but most of the times they are friends of you. It's very hard to say no to your friends, but maybe sometimes that's something that we need to do. What else do we have? If you have a doubt about the ability of the instructor or the process to become an instructor for that person, write it down, share it with the club and the federation. Although they did it before, I think the federation, back in the days, or still now, we learned a lot from it. Next time we have such a situation, we will definitely deal different with it. whenever in doubt, whip it out. Of course, do not second guess a skydiver doing a cutaway. We talked about it as well. Yeah, of course, if someone does a cutaway pretty soon, or like in this case, like after half a line twist, and that guy does or girl does a cutaway, have a talk with that person, but don't, of course, tell him, hey, you can't cut away that early. So have a talk, an instructional talk, like maybe you could have done this first, maybe your decision altitude, blah, blah, you know, how you need to deal with it. And then also a lesson learned, nothing to do with the tandem instructor himself, but the accident happened. The emergency care for the tandem passenger, as he was lightly injured, of course, he was kind of in shock, but on the moment itself, like everybody, like all the people involved were working literally on the tandem instructor because he was unconscious, he was dying actually, and then the tandem passenger was not. That's something that we learned as an organization. There was no good care for the tandem passenger. He was doing okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Of course, he was in shock, and they left him at his fate. Like, yeah, you can go home. Bye bye. And then afterwards, of course, because he didn't need any medical attention, but what we learned from it is like whenever, hopefully never, this kind of situation occurs again, we're definitely going to send the tandem passenger also to the hospital to have a checkup, to have to see if he really is okay, although he says he is okay. He went to the doctor afterwards, but he drove home on his own, and then he came home and he said like, whoa, I was flashing. People told me to go to the doctor, so he went to the hospital at his home, at this city, and he was all okay. But we had some good conversation with him the weeks after. But that's an important lesson also. Hopefully it never happens again. But think about it: if one of the two people involved in a tandem accident seem to be okay, maybe he or she is not okay. That's the first accident. Are there some questions about this accident? I need to hand you this over.
In light of that, what changes have you made to the instruction, the information given to tandem instructors when you reach 3,000 feet? What question are you supposed to ask yourself as an instructor?
That's a good question. Again, I'm not a tandem instructor, so there is, I mean, as far as I know, nothing changed on procedures and on approaching of emergency procedures. But of course, we had some debate with all the instructors, and everybody was talking in group with each other, and in the tandem examination committee, they talked about the emergency procedures. But I don't know about any changes or different ways of approaching it.
If you have an issue virtually after drug deployment, surely you must be thinking, well, if this isn't solved by 3,000 feet, I will be doing my drills.
Of course, you need to do your drills. And also, I think it can happen. You can pass your decision altitude because you're busy with something else, and then you're a little bit lower than your decision altitude. Yeah, of course.
And your AAD is going to fire at 2,000?
The tandem AD fires at 3,000?
2,300.
2,300. But still, if you're reaching the 2,300, you go for the emergency procedures. Not going to go deeper into it here right now because, again, I can't speak from any experience. But there is some room, I think, to play with that decision altitude. Okay? One more question? Cool, then we're going to go into the unfortunate fatal accident. last year, the 7th of July, half a year, 7 months ago. One of the rare days that I was not on the drop zone. We got the call that, or I got the call that I never ever want to receive again. I didn't want to receive it back then either, but it happened. We had a fatal accident. We had, again, the same gear, we talked about it. Meteor is interesting. We had, it was a summer day, of course, in July. Not too warm, was like, let's say 4 or 5, I looked it up, 4 or 5 degrees less warm than average that time of the year. So not super warm, around 18 degrees. 10 knots of wind, gusting 22. That's an interesting factor, and then scattered 4,800 feet. You will see the video. You will see. You can have an idea of how the weather was that day. There was a wind limit because of strong winds at altitude. I don't have the altitude winds here on the presentation, but I know I'm from doing the debrief from then. There was a lot of wind up there. On the ground, yeah, 10 knots. When it's like 10 knots steady, it's a nice jumping day. It's okay. If it's 10 knots most of the time, but every now and then it's gusting to 22, then it's a tricky skydiving day. I remember that the wind limit back then was also food for discussion. It doesn't need to be food for discussion here. Food for discussion with us at in the federation, the instructional or all the instructors. It was only an A license, so 25 jump limit, because yeah, most of the time it was like nice steady wind. It was just every now and then that it was gusting, and we will see at the numbers here. I have some wind numbers on the screen. Yeah, it was the most gusty of the day was during this tandem accident. So most of the time of the day was like okay to skydive, maybe not for beginners. Also very interesting topic for discussion. It was for the tandem instructor, his 4th jump of the day. He did 3 wingsuit jumps. He's a wingsuiter. He was not on the roll to do instructional jumps that day, but they asked him to help out because it was a family of 4 and they only had 3 instructors that day, and they wanted to have them jumping all together. So that's the reason why I said, okay, I will do a tandem jumps to help you guys out, to have the family sitting all together in the plane. 1400, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the accident happened, 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. An uneventful exit, free fall, and a free fall. Nothing wrong, nothing special, everything uneventful. Normal drag release, 5,000 feet, normal flight under canopy, textbook pattern. Maybe just a high final because of course, of the strong winds. And he definitely, because yeah, turbulent circumstances, he wanted to be away from the obstacles, from the objects. So he was intended to land like further than where we normally land at the drop zone. You'll again see it at the video. We land pretty close to the buildings. Although the winds, they were gusty, they were in our favor direction-wise. They came from the long side, so they didn't have a lot of objects to travel over. And the accident itself, it's very hard to guess, but at least that's what you can estimate, at least 10 meters, maybe 20 meters. The right side of the canopy folds under and the canopy spirals actually down without giving the canopy the time to inflate again, to have like a normal landing or a less aggressive landing. So a spiral turn, turning the tandem pair towards the ground, and they swing. They entered the ground, actually, they came both together on their side. The tandem instructor, 30-year male guy, he started jumping 2017 or something, yeah, that period. 350 jumps in 23, which of 200 tandems. So as a Belgian skydiver, as a Belgian instructor, doing one of the most tandems in our federation. So very current as a tandem skydiver, also as a skydiver himself. It's a very talented wingsuiter. He knows what he is doing. And 2024, the year of the accident, he did a little bit less jumps. There were some things that nothing had to do with skydiving itself, but a little bit less jumps. He only started doing tandems a little bit later in the season. He had only done approximately 20 tandems. There was a very late start of the season anyways, because of very wet runways and very bad weather last spring. And then also normal small guy, 70 kilos. The tandem passenger was a 65-year-old female doing her first tandem jump, like what usually a tandem skydiver is coming to do at the drop zone, just enjoying our nice sport. She was in a good general condition for a 65-year-old person. Also a smaller person, like 60 kilo-ish, more or less. So what you hear already realize is that it's a pretty light tandem pair. The drop zone, that's Schaffe in Belgium. I don't know if any of you guys ever was there. We took a screenshot of our landing procedures. Just to give you guys an idea, where you see like runway, do not cross below 500 feet. That is like 800 meter-ish. So it's a pretty big drop zone. Winds were coming from pretty much from the south, 220. As normally the tandem, they land in the HP, in the high performance landing zone, but because of the winds, tandem instructor decided to land in the main landing area, the yellow area over there. And if you see this, although there is some wind, it's gusty, everything is in the favor, because the wind is traveling like a long path without having to travel over buildings. There's like the military base to the left. There's the military base on the bottom, but like the area where the accident occurred, the wind should be stable again, or at least from the mechanical turbulence. And it's not here on the screen, but so they did he did like a right-hand pattern, just let's say coming from the bottom here, flying, let's say, downwind leg, pretty much parallel to the runway, then a right-hand turn into to the base, and then a right-hand turn into the final. Just pretty standard. The aftermath of the accident, of course, once the accident happened, and we did a lot of talk about the accident. Other tandem instructors, so I told you guys it was a family of 4, so there were 3 other tandems. They experienced a little bit of turbulence, but I think you can see one landing at the video, another landing, a normal landing, pretty normal. So nothing special, maybe a little bit turbulent, but just a normal tandem landing in heavy winds. So the tandem instructor was conscious, like screaming a lot because he was in very big pain. The passenger was directly unconscious and not breathing. They started doing CPR on the passenger, and then another skydiver started talking to the instructor because, of course, they were laying next to each other. Then after 5 minutes, the first ambulance arrived at the drop zone. The hospital, luckily, at this drop zone is pretty close. It's literally a 5-minute drive. And it takes over the CPR. Half an hour later, they stop the CPR because the passenger was declared deceased. After the accident, we got to learn that the aorta was, how do you say it, ripped or teared? Ruptured. So the aorta was ruptured, so she didn't have a chance at all. The tandem instructor was stabilized there. It was kind of a story as well because they needed to have like a second ambulance, and it was not available. So it took like, I don't know, was like close to half an hour to get the second ambulance there. So you can imagine the tandem instructor was in a very big pain, but of course they do the, how do you call it, the deduction. So they start with the heaviest injured person first. But luckily he yeah, he is still alive. He's doing better now. So they stabilized him. They took him to the hospital. You can see all the injuries he had, like the pelvis, femur, foot, cracked vertebra, broken ribs. 2.5 months in the hospital and recovery. I think at least 2.5 months. Long revalidation, still unable to work, but like what you can read there in the bottom, 3 months after the accident, he got to witness the birth of his daughter, so it was pretty emotional. And also we had a few, let's say, little parties back home, and then he showed up standing with crutches. Now he's standing without crutches, so he's doing good, he's doing better. He's not there yet, and they don't know exactly how the healing process will go, because some nerves are still working a lot to get healed properly. But he is planning to take up skydiving again whenever the time is ready. Probably not doing, or most sure he's not going to do any tandems anymore. But yeah, he likes to skydive and he want to get back into the sport as quick as he can. The investigation, the tandem equipment was in perfect working order. The tandem instructor was experienced and current. We talked about that already. 4 non-instructional jumps the same day, and also consistently good landings. So definitely nothing to say about the abilities or the capabilities of the instructor. All was good. Another skydiver experienced some turbulence, or a lot of turbulence. Others they didn't, because yeah, that's what it is with gusts and turbulent circumstances. Gusts, they happen every now and then, very unpredictable. We have some data from the Meteo Wing. So it's a military airport, so there is some data available. It's not how they call it, there is no TAF available. So there's no predictions available, but they have the METAR, so they have the actual meteo information, winds and clouds and everything. They can just look it up and give us all the details that we needed, all the reports that we needed to have a good investigation. So the tandem equipment, this particular rig, not a new, but like a fairly new Sigma container 2019. As I told you guys, a 364 Icarus tandem from 2017. So if you remember right, we started jumping them in 2016-ish, 2016, 2017. So one of the oldest of our canopies. Jumps locked on that particular canopy, because the tandem system itself, the harnesses, doesn't matter actually in this investigation. 646, we had no locks of the first 2 years, or their locks were gone. We couldn't find them anymore. But according to the jump numbers and the average jumps, tandem jumps that we do a year, we estimated a maximum of 900 jumps on that particular canopy. It had been relined once in 2018, second time in 2022, and the locked jumps since the last reline was 194 jumps on that line set. So it was slowly on the way to get maybe another reline, or maybe to get written off. There was no decision made yet, or what we're going to do when the time was there to give it, when this third line set, the second reline was done. Here we have the wind report. So if you look at the orange boxes, so 200 degrees, 200 to 20 to 20 to 2010 was the direction of the wind. 10 knots, 11 knots, but the interesting thing here is the gusting. The G22 gusting to 22 knots. And that yellow bar is more or less the timing of the accident. And you see that it's like 10 knots, 11 knots, and then it's gusting to 60 knots. So you see, if you see like this whole period, the timing of the accident was the heaviest gusts of that day. That's for sure. Here I have no idea why this is this unclear, but This report is from a local weather station that we have at the drop zone, so nothing from the military, just a local thing, and every 10 minutes he gives an update. The maximum gust the last hour back then was 22.1 on this particular weather station. The maximum gust the last 10 minutes, and that's also interesting, was 21.29. So we were pretty much at the heaviest gusts of the day at that point. 10 minutes before was only 17.6. 10 minutes after, 20, it goes to 16.11. Pretty. So it was like how do you call it? Like a momentum thing. But yeah. Probable causes. It was, yeah, of course, we talked about it all session long. Was very unstable weather, was gusty. There are also some thoughts that maybe a kind of a dust devil occurred because the place more or less where the accident happened over the location. It happened over an area where there was some pretty high grass. And then actually they fell down on the taxi track, and there of course the grass is mowed, so that's very short grass. Very hard to say. The temperature definitely was not there for dust devils. Some people think that it might have been a contributing factor, like something like winds doing a little bit different than normal because of the surfaces. Yeah, we will never know, of course. And then maybe the most interesting or contributing factor is the wing loading that was at the bottom end of the envelope. We didn't know at that time that it was the bottom end of the envelope because we didn't have any information. We were not aware of. Actually, we never thought about like having maybe a too low wing loading on canopy or on canopy configurations. Of course, after the accident, we had a lot of conversations with Gyro about wing loadings because we couldn't find anything on the website. And then we got to learn what we're going to see in the next two slides. Maybe at first you can see here in this configuration with a 364, the wing loading of this pair was it's very hard because we don't know exactly what the tandem passenger weighed and then the instructor, and with clothes and everything. But an estimation is a little bit below 1. 0.92, 0.95, 93, 96, a little bit below 1. What we got to learn afterwards during the investigation is this chart. It's not on the website of Gyro, but we got it, of course, from them. And they 1.0 wing loading, that's what they recommend at least for a tandem configuration with their canopies. With the 364, this pair, we were a little bit below 1.0, but around 1.0. So definitely the lower end of the envelope. That's what we want to point out. Was it a contributing factor? Probably. Maybe not. We will, of course, that also never know. But we were aware, of course, of this situation, so we took some action to make sure that we will have a little bit heavier wing loadings. Although the point of view of our drop zone actually always was to have like the 364s, the biggest parachutes, because of what we talked about in the beginning. We have non-professional skydivers. Some of the guys, they even don't get to the 25 tandems, you know. They do just like 25, 30, 50 tandem jumps a year, just to also a handful of fun jumps. So some of the instructors are definitely not very current, let's call it that way. So we always had the thought like we want to have like the lowest wing loading because that's the safest. And because we all know the story. Time is up. We all know the story about heavy wing loads in canopy flight, especially if you're not handling it well. So we always were we assumed that a lighter wing load was better. Now we maybe know a little bit better, or we learned a lot. We learned the hard way. So that's for that reason we decided to also purchase a few 330s, and we're gonna do a test year with the 330s this year, with of course the lighter configuration, skydivers only jumping with the 330s. I was already talking about the lessons learned. So the climate change is affecting the sport. Something also to think about. Do not trust your experience as far as the weather is concerned. There's a lot of data available. Make good decisions. And then what I just actually already explained, the Tandem, the 330s that we are going to, or that we purchased, that are now in order and will arrive pretty soon. That's the unfortunate fatal Tandem accident. I'm done with the talking. Are there some questions about the accident, about this accident? Then I thank you for listening carefully. And then we're gonna look at the video now at the end. We're gonna shut down the recording, and then we will have a look at this. So here, that's, oh, sorry. I could see it, you guys couldn't see it yet. So that's the weather. You can have a clear visual of the skydiving weather. It looks like it's cloudy, of course, but it's like with a few layers of clouds. So that's definitely holes, but it's like a higher cloud. So that's why you don't see any blue. You know this the typical kind of weather. This is the unfortunate Tandem, the highest one in the middle. This one just landed, but you can already see that there is some wind. You see the wind blades over here, and as soon as we start running the video, you will see. You can see here on this canopy that there is a lot of wind. See the Tandem instructor flying everything up. That's what we call textbook, or like what we got taught. Gaining as much as possible speed to penetrate through the turbulent air. So we couldn't say anything about it. That's all looking good. And that's what the Tandem accident is. Nothing he could do, nothing the Tandem pair could, nothing the instructor could do. It just happened. And if this happens 200 feet higher, there's a good chance that it will be a tough road down, but there's a good chance that he can inflate, that the canopy can inflate again, and that they walk away uneventful. It happened. Thank you for listening, and see you all. Oh, questions?
I'd like to put the point to you. You mentioned going now for smaller canopies because they get more air speed, you get more pressurization of the canopy, and they're less likely to fold, one hopes. On the other hand, if you'd been jumping a 330 canopy instead of a 364, and it had folded in the turbulence, which is also possible, you might have had a double fatality rather than a single fatality, mightn't you? So there's two sides to that coin.
Definitely something to think about, yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's we talked about it. That's also that's the reason why we were super hesitant for the smaller canopies. We know a lot of drop zones where maybe the instructors do even less jumps than we do, but they decided to go for 300s or 330s. That's personal decision, of course. That's drop zone board decisions. Yeah, we will test this out this year. We just actually one 330 per drop zone for now, just to figure out how it works, how it rolls, and then we will, of course, next winter we will, of course, have another talk, or maybe during the season already, and we will see if we gonna purchase a few more, or that we even maybe step back and go back to the 364s, because what you definitely can see is that's maybe a good thing to talk about. There was a lot of talking, we should do this and blah blah blah, but also you need to take in mind this is like, how big are the odds that this happens? even in turbulent weather. I mean, this, hopefully, of course, never again, but maybe we don't need to change any procedures. That's what I want to say, because, yeah, it was just a very unfortunate accident.
Did a storm come in after that, shortly after?
No. It was just calming down afterwards.
All right, because that definitely looks like the old storm clouds where you do get a lot of updraft and downdraft, and it's a downdraft that causes that to canopy.
That we talked about, for sure, yeah. Probably it is some little bit of downdraft, but it was no real storm coming afterwards. That's what we know. Cool, thank you all, and see you at the bar for a beer tonight and tomorrow.